Hello and welcome to month 3 of the monthly Doodle Challenge here on the Sketchwave. My name is Joel, otherwise known as JoelCreate, and my co-host is the one and only James Julier. James, are you looking forward to month 3 and have you got your doodle ready?
I've got my doodle ready, and as always, absolutely excited to get this done.
Awesome.
It's better than the other challenge we've got, isn't it? It's easier because we can use any brush we want now. So. Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you're new to the challenge, we make a doodle each every single month and then we swap it over. I give James my doodle, James takes my doodle, and then we've got about 45 minutes to create something out of it. And then at the end of the show, or during the show, either, there's links to the doodles in the description down below. And you can download the doodle and then upload it to our Google Drive, where at the end of May, we're going to go ahead and take a look at all of your doodles, pick our favourites, potentially, and run through them on the show. There you'll also find the sort of cut-off date, because we record these a week in advance. So looking at the calendar, you would be looking to get your entries in by the 23rd of May. So you've got a little while to participate. Anyway, me and James are now going to share our doodles to each other, and we'll be right back. Okay, so James is I've said it like in recent weeks, kind of like quite aggressively been threatening to step it up a little bit, and this week he is absolutely, or this month should I say, he's absolutely pushed it way further than the last time. So we've had just about 5 minutes just to take a look, just to see what we can come up with. We can't just do it on the spot; it'd be impossible. So we've literally had just about 5 minutes, and we've got our doodles. We're going to start drawing.
I still don't know what I'm going to do, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to set a 45-minute timer and just start drawing. So if you want to watch along while you maybe do the doodle as well, and tag us on Instagram if you do, happen to do that. What if you're watching along with us and you're doodling? Anyway, are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Let's get started. So yes, this is quite a tricky one. I'm really interested to know how much of the audience will attempt this one, as well as your one, like, so which one's going to get the most kind of attention?
Yeah, no, I'm a bit stumped this week. It's my fault. I sort of set out, give you a challenge, and then it's come back at me, and I guess when you have a certain style and then somebody else throws their kind of, just even your doodles have a style of their own, don't they? You may think a doodle's a doodle, but it's not true. I think even a doodle has a quality to it that makes us all unique, doesn't it? So I'm trying to think how I can turn that into something that's my style now instead. You've got ideas already, have you?
Well, I'm just dealing with exactly what you were just saying, that this has. I don't know if many people have seen like your really early YouTube work, but this is that kind of vibe to me of exactly that. Like there's there's certain like almost like joins and whatnot in the work, in like the shapes that you provide, which kind of give it that real early. I say early, I mean it was quite early, I guess, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But that James Julier early YouTube content that not too many people may have seen. So if you are someone who's looking at this going, yep, that looks like it, you're seeing what I'm seeing. I did kind of give James a tiny bit of a heads up as to what I was going to do ahead of us hitting
your
record.
Your interpretation of the shapes,
my interpretation is of a crab, and I am going to try my best to fit in all the elements of it. Like at the minute, I'm like, compared to normal weeks, I'm having to just attempt to continue the doodle. Like I have to get all the extra elements in, and I'm making this bloody crab look like it's got absolutely ridiculous muscles, like, because I've never drawn a crab's arms before. So these are some very gym worthy crab arms.
I mean, you're going for something tangible, real, I guess. I suppose I am in a sense, but when I do doodles and they end up as images, they can be quite abstract in there, although they might be 3D forms that I give textures that look real, and it looks like it could be a form that is tangible and could exist. In essence, I tend to just interpret them as kind of abstract. Like if it was a sculpture, it would be an abstract sculpture. It's not of a recognizable thing necessarily, But again, that's just something, probably the way that I take in the way that I think, really. But yes, that's one of the things that makes it a challenge, isn't it? I suppose.
Yes.
Have you had a busy week anyway?
So I think I can't remember if I said this. No, I haven't said this on the show actually just yet. We were just talking a second ago that last week, towards the end of the week, my camera decided to stop working, which is ace. It's just like, no, it's extremely frustrating, and like it's essentially a bit of the memory card got stuck inside the. What's going on with my canvas? It's not working properly. Oh, that's right. Sorry. The memory card got stuck. Some of it got stuck inside the SD card slot. So, that got jammed in there. So then it was a matter of just trying to try my best to get it out. Couldn't do it. And so I have had to send it off, sadly. So I'm missing it today quite a bit in another recording that I've just done for Patreon. So, yeah, it's frustrating, but what I will say is, and am I right in still saying you still use your phone?
You are right, absolutely.
So, like, it makes me realise still how much your phone can still do. Like, I can get particularly wrapped up in like the idea of what you want your videos to look like and sound like, or whatever, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, and when you don't have that in it, you have to step back a little bit. You're like, oh, this is not what I want it to be, or what it could be, and all that kind of stuff. So it's actually really interesting to realise still how much you can still do with your phone, and how much I've realised that actually having the camera and then also having your phone, you've got like this huge safety net, like if when things go wrong, like, and when you realize it, like the bare minimum to do what we do, which perhaps is inspiring maybe to other people who maybe want to do YouTube in this space. You don't need, and I mean, people say it all the time with YouTube, like you don't need professional equipment. All you need is, a lot of the time, is good audio and good lighting. I'm right now using my phone and have done for the intro of this, and this show. So, I'm fully aware of how capable it. Yeah, and I've got good lights in here, which obviously you pick up over time, and. Yeah, it's just, I'm happy with it, and I don't think it looks bad, and it's quite nice, and almost, I must admit, like I would imagine a slightly younger me would have been absolutely stressing out, like I can't make videos, they just don't look the same, they're not going to be my norm and all this, and everybody's going to know, and that's that kind of early mindset, I think, with YouTube, where like you think everybody's going to notice your hair looks different, or this, that, and the other, and reality, no one really cares at all, As long as the tutorial's not too bad, then people
most
will
of the
watch.
time, people are watching on their phones anyway, and it isn't necessarily that large a format. It depends, but I certainly still watch the majority of content on my phone. Maybe people that follow our tutorials watch it on a larger device. It makes sense because they want to see it higher resolution and all that. But yeah, for most stuff like this challenge, probably people will watch it on the go a little bit more, and I'm guessing phone viewing is going to be more of a thing.
Well, YouTube in general is exploding on tellies, and I do get a lot of people, like if they tag me in, like I said in the sort of early intro-ish before we just got started, if you are following along, and most people tend to watch by the looks of it on their tellies. We'll have to check our analytics afterwards, but they do say that YouTube in general is exploding on tellies. It's just becoming like what people watch as their what we would maybe say is like old school, standard procedure telly, where you would, just flick on BBC and that's it,
No,
so
that's true. Actually, I do. Having said all of that, I do watch YouTube on my TV of an evening, because it's just becoming another channel, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. What's your current channel that you're watching? Because I think this is a really cool question that I hear people actually ask other people all the time, and they say, "Well, what's a YouTuber you're watching currently?" Because with YouTube, with YouTube in general, it's quite easy to go down rabbit holes, isn't it? Where for like, I don't know, maybe you hyperfixate on something for a little while and you watch a particular person for quite some time, and then out of nowhere you start to fall off a little bit.
I do. There's a mixture of stuff. I do watch a bit of Joe Rogan stuff. It depends who he's talking to and what the subject matter is. But yeah, it often, will crop up, be a bit of Joe Rogan podcast. But I like ancient history stuff. I think we may have mentioned this before. At the minute, I've got a few Time Team, which is a UK kind of, archaeology. It used to be a TV program. I don't know. I keep seeing them on YouTube. I don't know whether they were originally aired on TV first or whether it is now a YouTube content thing. I'm guessing it's a TV thing that is also airing on YouTube, but I don't watch a lot of actual TV anymore. So I'm catching it on YouTube, and I just put it on in the background. I think I like the intro music and I like the voices, and I don't necessarily have to watch it, scrutinize it. Other than that, I'm trying to think what I do watch. I watch a lot of topical stuff, a lot of news related stuff. When I don't watch the news, so I catch a lot of topical things and even news on YouTube now. I see something, related to, stuff going on in the world. I don't want to get into politics, but
that bizarrely kind of didn't do that badly, did it? Last time we spoke about it, I saw in the comments people were saying like, no, I don't mind the political talk at all.
Yeah.
Which we will not be taking you up on your permission to do so.
No. This is not the space for it, is it? We create a little meditative kind of oasis of just something a bit different, and it, I like to reserve political talk for when I'm sort of chewing the fat with friends, and can have a good sort of complain about how stupid all politicians are and all the rest of it. And
in a safe space.
In a safe space, that's the one, isn't it? Yeah. But this is, how's your image coming along? Are you?
It's not too bad. I've got my arms in. It's definitely giving a bit of like a space crab kind of vibe. It's not
space crab.
It's not, well, because of the kind of leg-like shapes that are coming off the back of it. It's just going to be something that drags itself along the ocean floor, perhaps. I mean, I could have done a really dark. Oh man, why did I say that? I could make it really dark, and so the extra leg is a little bit throwing me off a little bit. But now I've said what I said, I think I'm going to try my hand at maybe making it a bit darker than I initially anticipated of an idea. But I still want it to have like yellow like sand underneath it, so I'm gonna have to see how this one plays out.
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty happy sort of that I've managed to make something out of it, to be honest. So it wasn't, I must admit, when you first sent it to me, it was not looking hopeful.
I actually think sometimes giving someone no room to wriggle out of it makes them confront the image, and you have to deal with it, I think that there was one, was it the one you gave me last time, where it was just a couple like, not parallel lines, but I think you saw them as like a split in a tree or something like that. I think if anything, I found that quite difficult, because it's like, well, it could be anything, then at least, I suppose you've just looked at this and you saw something has come to mind, and so you've got something to follow. And so I immediately saw something when you showed me this week's doodle as well. I wasn't sure how I was going to tackle it, and I've gone in a direction that I wouldn't necessarily have imagined that I would have done.
But it goes back to what you said like earlier on, doesn't it? That like I think when we do the doodles, we've got like a real idea as to what we would do with them already, because you kind of think, well, if I add this and I add that, oh yeah, then that could look like that. Okay, that looks like something tangible now that I could give to James, and it will give to the viewers as well to participate with. I've made that colour the wrong one. Let's desaturate that a little bit. Oh, I want to make this like really shiny and have some really interesting contrast. And I'll do you a favour and I'll share my screen to you, because I haven't.
Is this not the...
Ignore that. I've moved to a new laptop. We'll carry on as we are, James. It's okay. I'll have to tell you the time. Right, it is all over the place today. I apologise.
Right. So how was your... We're going to do an episode on our... or we'll incorporate our more recent tutorials, won't we? But we could still talk about them, can't we? What was your latest one?
What was my latest one? That is a great... Oh, it's Tropical Beach. Beach tutorial, yeah. I was worried potentially about backlash because of the fact that I used the ink roll brush.
Right.
And it is a bit of an awful one to use, I must admit. It's got really interesting characteristics to it, but people loved it, and people actually were quite happy to give it another go and try it. And I really love that. I love people sort of taking the challenge on and saying, no, we can do this, regardless of how annoying it was in like past tutorials. So yeah, that was cool to see, and the result, it really helped with some of the beach-like effects. And the waves and the sand, and overall I really like it when I can find a brush that can give me like the majority of the sort of styling, if that makes sense. The whole design can follow suit with that kind of aesthetic. So yeah, it worked out pretty good. How was yours? Yours was Floating Island one, right?
It was. I've done a floating island before, so it's not a new concept, but it's been a while. I like to revisit things. I tend to look back through my old videos at certain times, and I think, well, actually, I could do that one better.
That's cool.
So I incorporated a little waterfall, and it just, the lighting was more realistic. I was more fond of it this time. So
okay,
I probably end up doing some again. Thank you. It won't be the last time I do them, probably.
But that's the thing. Like we've said so many times that, you wouldn't tell Bob Ross, mate, come on, let's give it a rest with the beautiful landscapes. You let them cook, as they say now. Just let them cook, let them do their thing. That's their thing, and you can only get better at it by doing it. We've said it so many times on here.
I think if there's a reason for it to exist, then it's fine, isn't it? To cover old ground, but improve upon it. I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah, definitely. No, it looked really good. It was cool to see everybody nailing it as well, which is always that's quite rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. We've not talked about things you might be watching apart from YouTube. I thought I didn't even ask you about your. What do you tend to watch on
YouTube at the minute? I'm terrible with names, so this is probably the worst question I could have even proposed myself. But subject matter, that's a great question. I'll tell you what I was watching today. It was Theo Von interviewing Mark Zuckerberg. And
really? Okay,
it was
that's
actually
a good one.
really good. Yeah, really good.
Is that a new one?
The thing with... Yeah, literally, I've just saw all clips about it all morning, and I was like, I'm going to definitely chuck that on in the background.
Yeah.
And it's been great. And I've not finished it yet either, which is something I'm actually quite looking forward to.
I do like Theo
give it another watch. He is brilliant, and he doesn't get... I know people love him, but I don't think he even gets enough respect and credit for how good he is. But people in the space love him, other comedians, they respect him quite a lot. But yeah, he's great. And the thing with Zuck as well, sorry, go on.
No, it's fine, go on.
I was going to say, the thing with Zuck as well, most people refer to him as a bit of a robot, and literally there's conspiracies that he is and all that kind of stuff. But I loved when I was watching it that he just leans into some of those things, the whole billionaire kind of idea and philosophies and stuff like that, and just makes jokes about it. And I'm all for that. He doesn't drink any caffeine at all. He doesn't like anything, of course, that would mess with his mental and stuff like that. Okay. And he wakes up in the morning, he'll check his phone, and then the first thing he does is goes and does 2 hours worth of jiu-jitsu, because he's well into that stuff. So I was like, that's a crazy morning, getting taking some punches potentially first thing in the morning. But he says he can
It's more
wake up to an
wrestling,
email of
isn't
like,
isn't it kind of grappling
yeah,
and wrestling
a little bit
and
like
getting
that.
into,
Yeah. He said he's been doing a little bit of striking, which was cool.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, I would recommend it as a watch. It was really good and just a good listen. Like, and Theo as well, just class.
Very good. I will
Really
check that out.
Big fan of him. Yeah.
It's deceptive. He has a kind of persona. I mean, I think it probably is the way he is, but I think he hams it up a little bit, doesn't he? He kind of leads into the kind of, you know, the whole redneck kind of, what's the word? Cliche, but he's not that at all.
Yeah,
He's actually really, really clever.
Absolutely.
Isn't he? You know.
I just remembered like one of his like viral jokes, and he was like, "I got bit by a black widow once," and then the guy's like, "Oh really?" And he's like, "Yeah, she was in her 40s."
He is good.
It's so good, but it's the delivery. It's like you said, the cliche into like that kind of like I imagine like small town America and like these types of things like these kind of stories about people and stuff. Like
He knows what he's doing.
Good.
He knows what he's doing.
Absolutely, it's absolutely fantastic. It's a great watch. We've got 26 minutes left, James. Just letting you know because can't share the old timer with you.
No. I kind of reached a point where I'm not quite sure what to do with it now.
Oh, really?
Kind of come so far. Yeah, I'm going to go. I mean, I've not described what I'm doing. I've interpreted it as a sun in a kind of red desert.
Oh, okay.
With a weird kind of plasma swirl surrounding. So the lines of the circle and the arc have made more ethereal and just kind of plasma strangeness going on in the scene. It's kind of all right, but then I don't know how to refine it now. So I've kind of got the essence of it, but now how do I actually tweak it and refine it so that it elevates it? That's the bit I'm struggling with.
Yeah, I imagined it being quite like a massive metal kind of, almost like an engine that's fallen out of a spaceship into the desert and like buried it, or some sort of like fantasy kind of element to it where it's, you know, landed in the desert. That's my interpretation of that one. Did you have anything for this one that you could envision when you saw it?
I think I probably was thinking sea creature, crustacean, or something like if it was me and I was given it, I would probably start adding textures that you might see on some kind of crustacean. Yeah. I think I would do that.
I've tried to really
images.
Go on.
I've done similar images in you know, as my personal work that have incorporated forms a little bit similar to that. So I'd probably just lean more into that. But
yeah. I tried to really nail the lighting kind of aspect to it first, and just the general shaping as well. But it's getting there. It's just looking a little bit too soft at the minute. I definitely would want something with a bit of texture. But I've been using some charcoal brushes so they've got a little bit of a softer look to them, which is probably not ideal at this point. Need to try and find something a bit more aggressive, a bit more patchy kind of. Maybe try the hearts brush. Let's see what happens here. Try and work that in. YouTube wise, I think other than that, I'm watching like a particular thing at the minute. I am just trying to sort of understand and see what sort of bits and bobs happen in the, I hate to bring it up, I'm not even going to talk about it too much, but the Pokemon space, and just understanding another space, you know, and all that kind of stuff that goes into it. So that's what I'm working with. But anyway, I think I mentioned just ever so slightly earlier, I got a nice little spec upgrade to my MacBook this week, because my other one, it was reaching its limit, kept like opening up Photoshop and stuff, and it wouldn't work, and that's not ideal for my work and my day job and stuff, also thumbnails and everything else that goes into it. So I very much had to go get a new one. So I got a little MacBook Air M4, so I upgraded from the M2, and got a nice sort of spec upgrade in there as well. So like boosted the unified memory, actual storage as well, and so I walked away very, very happy with the little sort of upgrades that I'll be able to utilise now and make more use out of.
lighter wallet.
Yeah. I mean, I got about £300 for my previous MacBook Air. I mean, that was an M2, so that's not even like the super old or anything.
No.
But the new one was about 1,300.
Yeah.
So yeah, pricey purchase, but you know, it gets used relentlessly every single day. So like, what can you do? You know, you've got to put the investment in something that's going to make your life a little bit easier.
Definitely.
Or just make sure it's manageable.
And I think the newest, like the biggest iPad is, you know, starts at that kind of price anyway. Maybe it's a bit less, but you know, depending on the storage you upgrade to, you know, I think I probably spent similar than that on my iPad. You know, it's just an iPad. So
yeah. Well, we're in a space where we both have Macs to a degree. Like you've not long had yours, but you've got yours now, and we have our iPads that are somewhat eventually going to need upgrading. I mean, yours is much newer than mine, but yeah, that is another thing. I'm like, oh man, that's going to have to come, and I'm going to have that conversation of like, do you need to upgrade this too? But yeah, it needed to be done.
If it's work, you know, if it earns you a living as well, there's no getting around it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, no, absolutely not. And I want to make life a bit easier and make sure it's all actually going to work when I need it to work. Simple as that. So it needed to be done. Yeah. I'm trying my best to punch in some texture here, but it is not really working as fully expected.
Have you been getting out in the sun, enjoying the good weather that we've been experiencing in the UK?
Yeah, did a bit of gardening at the weekend. Got a load of bits and bobs that I wanted to get done and started anyway. And yeah, just enjoying it. I mean, it's been well hot today in here. Yeah. We're down here, so yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I've been having a few barbecues and stuff in the evening with the kids, and
nice.
It's been nice. Yeah, I've got the painted the decking and just got a few things fixed and sorted out. Quite pleased with it. I just love being outside in the garden. You know, it's like the whole winter, especially in the UK. Perhaps you know, if you're lucky in some ways to be somewhere that you just don't experience a severe winter, you know, you end up feeling a little bit locked into the house, don't you, in the UK? So the opportunity then to be outdoors in the garden and just be outside is you can't pass that up, can you? When you're in the UK, you kind of have to get out, enjoy it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not. You don't get it for very long either. At most times either. So.
No, we've got a bit of an early summer, haven't we, in the UK? We're just hoping this isn't it. You know, we tend to get a nice April, May occasionally, and then, you know, the time that we would expect our summer is sort of August time. Typically, I remember childhood memories, you know, August was, in my memory, was always blazing hot, but it doesn't seem to be like that.
Yeah.
You know, that expectation now, it just is never quite lives up to what I imagine it should be.
I feel like there's loads of things like that as a kid that you kind of remember, and now they're like, was that even real? Like, I swear things are meant to be different than what they are.
Yes.
Yeah, this will be just our first, just about our first summer in this house as well. So like
nice.
It's lovely. We're seeing like how the sun's going to come in on an evening into certain areas a bit more than what it has been. So yeah, it's exciting. I can't remember when you moved to your place.
It was the end of September, so it was basically
same thing.
Settling in for winter by the time we'd actually moved in. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, we didn't get to experience the summer. This is a new experience in this house. So we did the whole.
For anyone watching,
we did the whole cozy winter thing with the fire and all that side of it, which was lovely. You know, it's definitely a thing to be sort of shut yourself indoors with the fire going. There's a coziness, isn't there? But yeah, being able to make use of the garden. One of the reasons we bought this new house is for the garden, so to actually be able to make use of it now is a pretty major thing for us and the kids. So
that's nice.
All good, yeah.
For anyone watching just then, I was just adjusting the colours by creating, I mentioned this last time, making selections and then just expanding them and feathering them, and then getting into the point where you can then use the hue saturation slider and just make some changes to them, and just adjust the color in certain areas, so you can just get multiple tones out of the same thing, especially if you've drawn something a bit too heavily, like one tone, which I am very guilty of doing. So splashing in some extra colors here and there is actually really fun to do using the hue slider. Yeah. I'm trying to find a dust brush, but I can't find it anywhere.
I'm pretty minimal with my brushes this episode. I'm kind of using the soft brush and the luminance pen, but not much else.
Luminance pen, okay, cool.
Not the rainforest brush. Oh, that's the point. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. That might just fix everything. Probably not. But.
Do you feel like it's tough sometimes or do you feel like you purposely have to try, especially in these challenges, to not use it, or like do you want to go and use it?
It didn't occur to me until I just said it to use it for this one. It's probably a really bad idea to try, but I'm going to try anyway. I do really love using the brush. I mean, it makes more sense for me to use it. I mean, it's the rainforest brush. It makes more sense for organic kind of green areas and trees and distant foliage and all the rest of it. That's when it truly comes into its own, but it doesn't make a lot of sense in this context. I've just given it a little token gesture. Go out anyway.
A little signature stamp in the corner.
There you go.
Let's move that to the ground. Put that down. So we've got about 15 minutes left on the challenge. As I said in the intro, guys, if you want to participate, we'd love to see your finished results. You can just upload them now to our Google Drive, so it should make life a little bit easier for you in terms of being able to share your work with us. And people have been saying it's worked nicely, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, good.
So now I'm trying to warp some ocean like lines, like ripples from above on top of the sort of the shapes now of the crab, and it's I'm having to like warp them over the top of its body and structure and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Nice,
fun to do. Blending them over the top, seeing what lands. Now I'm gonna have to really.
Is this going to inspire you to do a crab tutorial then, do you think?
No. I must admit though, when we do these doodle challenges, I do come away and then like the next time I'm drawing, I'm like, can I please get that out of my head? Because that's just simply what we drew the other day. But it's just like that. It's like the latest thing you've done, isn't it? Kind of vibe. It just sticks with you big time.
Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't look too bad. There's something missing. We spoke about this point that you can hit sometimes where you're like umming and ahhing a little bit about where you are. I think the colours are just a bit wrong. Let's change some hue settings, shall we? Let's maybe punch up or punch down.
You shouldn't punch down. It's never You're allowed to punch up, as they say, aren't you? But not down.
Oh man, I don't know whether to go like. No, do you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it. 15 minutes left. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, I know what I can do. So one trick I've done before, if anyone's watching, I'm going to swipe down with 3 fingers, go copy all, swipe down with 3 fingers and go to paste. And then if you go to set the blend mode to lighten, which won't technically look any different, but if you give it the old Gaussian blur, you can make things look really soft and like underwater murky, where the light is just that little bit softer. And that, for me, was that little touch that we were just speaking about, that just, you need to add it in. And once you see it, you're like, yeah, I've done it. We did it. So, all in all, I'm pretty happy with mine already, to be honest. What about you? How are you getting on?
It's getting there. I feel like it's an image that has potential. If it were to have longer on it, I think it could potentially turn. It's gotten a bit strange, a bit alien landscape, otherworldly. Definitely not Earth. It started off relatively conventional, but it's turned into a strange thing now, which, I do like doing strange alien environments, so it's definitely not negative, but I generally would like to spend longer on something that is so otherworldly. I think you kind of need to go into more detail and spend longer on it. You can be more suggestive when it is something that people would recognize. You can be quite rough and almost abstract when it's familiar kind of landscapes. When you do an alien world, you kind of need to spend a bit longer on it and a bit more definition on it, but we don't have that. So
we don't have that luxury.
No,
we do not.
But yeah, I'm quite happy with it.
Good. Okay, that's looking good. I'm happy with that. Now I'm quite happy to the point where now I don't really know necessarily what else to add. Yeah. I just add in like little extra bits, which is a good sign. That's like half an hour in, so that I'm overly pleased with how this one's turned out at the minute. Good. Based on the fact that when I first saw it, I was a bit alarmed, but it's worked out.
Did you a favour?
Yeah, really appreciate it.
I'll push it even further next time then. Not a problem.
I think this might be the limit.
Nah. I mean, one thing that we don't do is that we stipulated this at the beginning, didn't we? That we don't resolve it too much. We don't add shading and a sense of depth and that final textures on it. It has to remain a kind of line drawing, doesn't it?
Otherwise, I think it's too suggestive.
Yeah,
exactly. It's too much for the other person to have to try and navigate around, like everything's already locked in and uniformed too much, I think. Okay, I am now just tweaking like crazy.
What we got
seeing
left?
What else I can... I've got 10 minutes.
Oh gosh, okay. Quite a while then.
I mean, we can call it whenever you're ready, but I'm just trying to make my way through now and just see if there's anything else that I'm like missing or... Yeah, just seeing what else there is.
No, I'll keep going with this. I'm quite happy to keep pushing it. Whoa, I've ended at something that looks quite demonic again. I seem to gravitate towards something that looks a bit dark and sinister. There you go. Must reveal something about my psyche somehow.
But do you think you would like to draw more stuff like that, though, that is a bit more out there in that aspect?
I would. It's the teaching of it. Because, I tend to enjoy doing this kind of stuff when I'm really kind of at the kind of cutting edge of what I can do. So the teaching of it and planning it out. But yeah, I guess maybe. I think that it very much becomes a bit more niche then. If you've got something that's so odd, then you're not going to appeal to as many people. And unfortunately, I guess initially when I was doing YouTube, it was like, well, I'll do what I want. But then when it becomes when you take that step and it becomes your income.
Yes, that's true.
I'm a little bit hesitant to put out material that I know will tank, just as an exercise for my own enjoyment. I do have an audience that, I like to provide content that actually I think that they'll like, rather than just stuff that I like. It has to be a mixture, has to be a kind of balance between those two needs and desires to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I try and do something that everyone will enjoy. Well, not everyone. You can never please everyone, but more people will, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. I like to push the kind of surreal, the fantasy side a little bit, but I think in terms of my dark tastes and, or taste in kind of more sinister things. I mean, I love horror movies, and so that creeps into artwork here and there, I guess. But I'm not sure that would do if I was... I guess that could be a good niche. You could build a channel around doing nothing but horror landscapes, horror art, but I feel like I've already got my audience now. I don't want to start upsetting them by suddenly doing nothing but that kind of subject matter. It might upset a few people, so
yeah. You have to stick to what your foundations are, don't you?
I think so. think so. I mean, you've been brave and taking on another channel, but it is completely unrelated, isn't it? So you're not you don't have the anguish about where should it be put,
Yeah.
If you're going to have content that's quite similar to your other content, but just a little bit different, then I think I'd endlessly not know where to put it, whether it was pushing not the boundaries, but pushing what people want a little bit too much, and should it go on an alternate channel or should it go on the main channel? I think I'd struggle with that. So
Yeah.
it's just easier to have one.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense.
Do you think you've reached your limit of number of channels now? Or?
James, I am. I could fall over any minute. I am at my absolute limit.
Yeah.
And listen, that's not. But I don't know. Because my work, the work I'm doing for everything that I do creatively is not. Like I've got a little bit of everything. I work with yourself on this channel. It's a joint venture on this one. Mm-hmm. I'm working for other people, helping them editing content for their channels, and I've got my content. So I've got a little bit of everything. I do think you do have to have a little bit of everything in order to also just evolve as a bit of a sort of person that can take on those kind of projects and understand that the differences in between. Because they are different. Every project's different like that. I think working with someone else, where we've had conversations about ideas, what to do and what not to do. And, I think sometimes we have to maybe find a middle ground, or we go in one direction. And it's not like me and James row behind the scenes. Not at all. It's actually extremely easy, this channel, in terms of the direction that we want to take it in and the management of it. It's great. But you do have those moments where you're like, I'll have to reserve my idea maybe a little bit, and then we'll go with that direction. And it's just part and parcel of learning to work with other people. But at the same time, I get to work for other people, so you get that side of it. But I cannot take on any more without potentially just saying right, I have to pack in my day job, and go from there, because I can't do it anymore. No, it's just too much. It's more mental capacity as well. I really know I'm at it. I can't take on anything else.
Also, you never know what life can throw at you, do you? So you need to be able to continue it, even in, trying circumstances at times, because these things inevitably come along at some point, don't they? You need to be able to persevere through life challenges. If me and Harry, want to try and have children and all that stuff, you've got audiences that are dependent on you and everything involved like that. So you have to think, okay, well, you don't want to overcommit yourself.
Are they happy to, also potentially wait, 4 or 5 weeks for content, that kind of thing? Or have you built up such an audience in such a way that they expect it more frequently? It's tough.
Well, people would be generous in spirit, I'm sure, and say, of course, it's not a problem. But then inevitably people forget, don't they, and move on to doing other things if it's not regularly there. If it gets out of the habit and routine, as the goodwill can be there completely, but you become people's routine every week, and if you're not every week in that routine, then that can become an issue, I guess, can't it, for you, if you try then to maintain something.
It's tough. But I mean, I really, one person I would love to get on the show and is Genevieve, because she has such a huge channel and a huge audience, and I say recently, but I can't remember when I reached out to her. I think it might have even been the end of last year, potentially a bit earlier than that,
right,
about coming on the show, and totally up for it, which was amazing. But had so much going on, and had a little one as well, and I'd love to. It might not even be a conversation that's even anything for our show, really, in terms of for our audience, but as a creative and a quote unquote YouTuber, to be able to have to step away, yourself for a bit and say, I've got commitments, I've got to raise a little one, which is great. I love that, but then also, how does that play on your mind about what what you've built and stuff? And I think it also sometimes sometimes it'd be fast. Again, sorry, I'm kind of spitballing a conversation that hasn't even happened, but whether or not it would be a great reset in a way where it changes your expectations of your own expectations of delivery, of content and stuff. We've been doing a weekly video now for however long, to not do that, other than with technical issues like you had not that long ago, how does that affect you if you can't put out a video? If I can't put out a video one week because my phone decides to also, go up in flames, then how do I feel about it? And I think also realizing lately more so, like the beginning of the video I recorded today and edited for Patreon and is in the bank ready to go. I put a little clip at the beginning and just said, listen, this is a video on my phone. Some of the colours that I've tried to fix, but they don't look great at all times. Please just follow along with the exact same colours you've been given and you'll be all good to go. And I'm happy to put that in there rather than be frustrated and annoyed. It's not that deep, It's really not that deep. And I think you need certain things to test you in order to realise, okay, I'm actually more comfortable with that situation than I thought I would be.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I use my phone, don't I? And so my colours are, that's a permanent thing with my tutorials is that the colours will be distorted a little bit, and I have to explain that regularly. But it's one of those, isn't it? I mean, I'm a little bit, although I end up in it sooner or later. I've got a different mic now that I'm using, thankfully, on my. This microphone's great, but I just seem to have a few problems with the leads or something, and it wasn't doing what it was supposed to. So I invested in a new microphone, which I'm overjoyed with, but it's super simple to use. Although I end up using technologies, and I suppose we are kind of involved in the tech world one way or another. I use it in a really simple way. I'm not sophisticated in the way that I use technology, actually. One of the great things about the iPad and the Apple Pencil is that you don't need to be that sophisticated. And once you've learned some of the basics of the app, Procreate, for example, it kind of is just like more traditional, and that was always the reason I loved it. So you don't need to be overly complex.
You got 45 seconds left.
Okay, I'm going to use them.
How does that sound?
Yeah, you're going to use them.
Yeah, you go for it.
Yeah.
Well, while I've got the audience, I'm looking directly at you. Please consider subscribing to the channel. We provide a video every single week, drawing challenges, community drawing challenges, all sorts of stuff. And if you've ever got a question that you would like us to cover on the show, there's a link to a form in the description down below, so you can go ahead and submit a form. And while I've still got another 17 seconds left, why don't you hit the join button while you're down there? You can become a member of the channel. You get a loyalty badge beside your name that grows over time. You support the show, you get early access to the show, and you help support the work that we do here. 3, 2, 1. That is time, Mr. Julier. Let's share our canvases. Okay, so we've shared our canvases. We have got mine open, I believe, first. Made a little crab design out of it. It's interesting to see it with and without your doodle, how it starts off with kind of 3 kind of limbs almost in my interpretation. And then, I just managed to just about expand it to fit the rest in. And I think there's a lot of almost disguise here in a good way of how the fact I've got the murkiness, of the water and the ripple lines and everything like that it kind of allows the texture to be a tiny bit more blurred and maybe a little bit muted almost.
Yeah, it's nice. It's got a softness to it that I think, it gives it that kind of really deep underwater, because if it was shallow waters, then those ripples would be crisp, wouldn't they, I guess, on the ocean floor. But because it is perhaps a little bit further down, it's become more diffuse. And I like it. It's very nice. Beautiful colour scheme. And the sort of the light and the shadow of it is great.
It was initially just blues, and then just created a set selection of top of the pincers and the shell, especially on the back, and then made a selection of it to feather it, change the hue of it and boost the saturation. And then that gives me that nice natural blend between the two, which is quite a nice.
Have you used for texture?
I used a charcoal brush for the majority of just laying in the foundations of it. Hearts brush to punch in some random kind of aggressive scattering of shaping on the top of the shell. Soft air brush for lighting in terms of the rays coming in, and the ocean rays, I think brush is called. There's an oceans brush that has those kind of it's in elements and it's called water, and it gives you those kind of swirly lines as if what would be on the surface of the sand from above kind of thing.
It's really nice.
I'm pleased with it. Very pleased with it. Nice kind of vibe. Nice darkness
quite nice
to it
to
as
see
well.
the original pencil lines still in there. You've not kind of removed it as a layer. You've added more lines to it, and so the original line drawing is still very visible there, isn't it? Which is nice to see.
It's definitely an alien crab though, with the three kind of mutated kind of legs off the back, which I think is quite cool. It's definitely. I think I've almost, in a way, kind of done what I think maybe your interpretation of this would have been, where it's take it into that kind of really spacey, kind of more abstract kind of way, and it's like, yes, it's a crab with 3 mutated legs on it. Like, it's just, what do you mean? That's weird. so yeah, I'm going to drop out of my one. I'm going to open up your canvas, because this is sick. This is giving some demonic kind of underworld kind of vibe to it, and I am all for it.
But it was a challenging line drawing in a sense, and I think you envisaged it a completely different way, hadn't you? And for me, I think those clean lines, I tend to, because as you can see from the doodle I gave you, I tend to have more kind of gnarly, twisty curves and knobbly shapes and things. So to have a clean shape in there, a set of circles, I wasn't quite sure how I was going to interpret that as a solid shape, which is why I took it down the kind of more ethereal and wispy light plasma discharge or something like that. And that inspired me once I'd done that for the kind of pinky colours for that swirling shape. Then I thought, well, I'm going to repeat that concept for the actual sun or whatever it is blazing in the sky there, and just repeat that with another ghost kind of shape around it that's kind of distorting and being blown out a little bit. Like, I was imagining it like solar flares and, discharge from the side on the left side, something like that. Something quite stormy and, intense happening there on whatever world that is, was the way that I was envisaging it. I enjoyed it. It was good. It was a good challenge, actually. I think if I had a bit longer, I'd spend a bit more texture. I was initially thinking it was going to be more sand dunes than it ended up. But I would struggle to do sand dunes, I think, and get the textures right without more reference material. So, it ended up being a bit more gnarly and, I don't know, a bit more made up on the ground. But and then it got to a certain stage and I was liking it, but then I thought I wanted more of a contrasting dark set of shapes in there. So I kind of leant back on more familiar kind of tree shapes and branches as well. And I think that gave it the contrast it needed. It added the dark elements in there with the light as well. So, yeah, quite happy with it.
Do not take this the wrong way.
No, there is no wrong way. Go on.
I think this is one of the sickest pieces I think I've seen you draw.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know about a long time. I don't want to say a long time because I don't want to put a time frame on it. But I just think this is one of the sickest things I think I've seen you draw in terms of. I don't know. It's just I think it's for one the boldness to use red as well, because it's a bugger of a color to try and actually separate as well. The plasma flare thing is that the circular sort of spiraling shapes around the doodle is so cool, and I love the fact it looks like this planet or wherever this is just like hell, and like this random. I feel like either that spiral sort of circular flare in the middle is either going to portal someone into this world, or about like Doctor Strange is about to land in here or something, or he's just left. But it's like this. It's just supernatural. It's just sick. I'm really very impressed by it. It's just so cool.
That.
And
thank you.
I think it's the dark vibe of it. I think I could honestly sit here and just like break that down a bit more and a bit more. It's so cool. And it's the contrast of other elements, like the darkness of, those kind of branches, but they're equally following shape and suit with the circular repetitive nature of the sun, and then the solar flare, and then the circular portal kind of, lighting there. It's just
vortex.
There's a lot of familiarity throughout the whole of it that's just like consistent, and the use of kind of like the smokiness in the background and stuff. It really, Very impressive. When you said you were going to use up the last few seconds as well, I was like, is he going to cut it short a little bit and wants to go watch something with the family? I don't know, but it looks great. Very impressed. Well done to you. I will give you this one. We don't normally pit them against each other, but that's up there. That's very, very cool. Guys, please feel free to join in with the Doodle Challenge. There'll be a link to the Google Drive folder in the description down below. When you upload yours, there is an example file in there, so you can upload it, put your name there. We want 2 versions. We want one, well, both need to have your name on, but one needs to have the doodle present and keep it, and don't distort it, don't destroy it in any way. And then the other one, you can just show us your image without it and just show how it inspired your design. James, thank you, mate, for blowing me away by your piece here. I'm very inspired now. That's awesome. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I've already done all the outros, so we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.